Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, and just what every lover of modern technology wants, some geezer to play bloomin' blues.
Yeah. So funny. I was at Muse 8 the other day looking at the guitar mags. There's 10 guitar mags. And every single one of them. There's a big blues feature on the front.
Right.
Every single one.
I'm
like,
going...
but it's there. It's still there. It's still current.
It's not going away.
It's not going away.
What's humming then, do you think?
Yeah, there's nothing. It's the old AC30. Actually, we could probably
turn it off.
Flick that off for now, and then turn it back on when we need it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no new tech coming, only old tech coming. Right, Strymon Iridium. This is going to be a long show.
Yes. Before we get started though, just want to say, guys, if you feel so inclined, head over to thatpedalshowstore.com and check out the pedals and t-shirts and cups and all the stuff.
Yeah, you can't buy this, which is an exact replica of my insides. I had this done.
But it is. Sorry.
In fact, I wonder if we'll end up doing these.
We have to.
It's not copyrighted, is it?
There's a skeleton. Surely.
This will make absolutely no sense.
We can buy that. We can buy those the kits, the fancy dress costumes, and just cut the bottom off, and just sell them as t-shirts.
Sell those in and out by container load from China.
Yes.
It's Halloween today.
It is Halloween.
So not only are we doing the Strymon Iridium, I'm wearing a suitably scary shirt. It glows in the dark as well, don't you know?
Right.
Okay. Right. Dan and I don't usually do digital modelling stuff because we've got all this. So there's no need to model anything that we already have. However, the rest of the world does use digital modelling.
I don't want to be in the rest of the world. I want to stay here.
I don't want to be there either, but the rest of the world uses digital modelling, and it is an absolutely current... I mean, listen to me, I sound old. It's been current for ages. It's widely in use every day by everybody, from professional touring musicians, studios, people at home. It is the central technology, and we can't ignore it.
No.
Doesn't mean we have to like it. Anyway, moving on. So, That Pedal Show, why don't you do Helix? Why don't you do Kemper? Why don't you do all of that? We don't do all of that because it's too complex. We've got these lovely old analog things, and hand on heart to us, given the choice, we'd rather use the old analog things.
But we are in a very fortunate situation where we can come and record with these amps and turn them up. You know, lots of guys who are doing demos and things are doing them in their front room, and they simply can't. If we played at home with his volumes,
I don't have an amp at home.
Right.
For that very reason.
Yeah.
Because that's why we made this.
Sure.
Because we can't play guitar loud at home, right?
Yeah.
So rather than buy Helix, we bought this.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the truth of the matter.
Absolutely.
It's the truth of the matter.
So there are loads of other guys that do that stuff really well. Yeah. Really
and get
well.
fantastic recorded tones, and that is what we're going to be talking about today, and that's going to be a big part of the discussion. You know, what do we feel in here versus what ends up recorded. Now, why then have we made an exception for the Strymon Iridium, and why have we chosen it? Because A, Strymon don't make anything rubbish.
No.
It's always good. It's always good Strymon stuff. 2, no menus.
Yeah.
No deep editing.
It's all there.
No 50,000 amp models. no 50,000 cab models. You don't have option paralysis where if you plug into one of those multi things that does everything, I don't know, I spend the first 20 minutes trying to find a sound I don't like, and then the inspiration is gone.
Yep.
So
I agree.
That works for some people, and some people are obsessed with tech, and they're obsessed with spec, and they're obsessed with a trillion options. And if that's you, good for you. It's not for me and Dan. That's fair, isn't it?
Very fair.
We like the instant tweakability of single sound pedals, blah, blah, blah. However, the Iridium, super easy to understand, can simply be added to a pedal board along with any other pedal.
Yeah.
I mean, so can a Helix HX Stomp, to be fair. But again, for me, it's aesthetically different.
Sure.
And I don't mean just in terms of looks, but in terms of approach.
Right.
So that's why we're making an exception for Iridium. That's why we're having a look at it, because it's really blooming interesting.
Yeah. And I would just say as well, Pete, I want to say Tele.
I think it's Tele.
Yeah.
Might be Selly, but I think it's Tele.
I've got just so much respect for the guy, and I've had a couple of really good conversations with him when we were out at NAMM.
Yeah.
Pete, open invitation for you to come on the show.
That would be a wonderful
love
show.
to have you on the show because it'd be a fascinating chat. So
Yeah.
yes, next time you're in the UK, it'd be great to see you. But I think what he's done here is so interesting.
Yes.
I was not expecting this.
Yeah. So right from the top, what is it? Strymon says Iridium is an amp through a cab in a room. Amp cab room, right? There are other devices that do this, and maybe they center on the amp thing more, or the cab thing more, or the room thing more, in terms of IRs and all that. But in terms of simplicity, that's what it is. It's an amp. It's 3 amps, in fact. It's 9 cabs loaded in there. You can load more.
So 3 cabs for each amp.
Yes.
Yep.
We'll get into that. And it's 3 different rooms in 3 different sizes. So amp, cab, room, right? Got that. Here's what Strymon says, Dan.
Okay.
Nothing reveals the true nature of your guitar and you're playing like a world-class tube amp.
Agreed completely. Thank you very much.
We'll see you
watching.
Next week. Driving a perfectly matched speaker in a great sounding room.
Yes.
True.
Yep.
Now there is a pedal that truly delivers that sound and feel with simple controls for effortlessly dialing in the perfect amp tone when going direct. Discover inspiring tube amp responsiveness, unprecedented impulse speaker response speaker cabinet realism, and controllable natural sounding room ambience.
Okay.
So that's where Strymon is starting. So for me, there are 2 questions.
Okay.
Number 1, does it sound like the amps it's trying to be?
Okay.
So we don't have all 3, but we have 2 that are similar enough. The 3 amps in Iridium are a 65 Deluxe Reverb, a Vox AC30 top boost, and a Marshall 1959 100-watt Plexi. We've got the AC30 top boost, Dan's 1961 original, and we don't have a Deluxe Reverb. We do have a Super Reverb, which is more or less the same thing, and I think is okay for today's comparison.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a 100-watt Plexi. We have a 50-watt Plexi, but we have decided just to do the Vox and the Fender. Maybe we'll do the other one someday, but we've made that choice. So that will be the second part of that video, this video. The first part of the video is the second question, which is, okay, how do you plug it in? How do you use it? Where does it sit on the board? What about signal chain? What about how you hear it? Etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Sure.
Can you explain the pedal board, Dan?
So we've got 3 gain stages. We have the Fuzz Factory from ZVEX. We have a D&M drive, and we have a King of Tone. So really different voiced, but wonderful sounding gain stages. We have the Ripley Fall, so we've got a chorus and phaser. Dial Memory Lane Junior, so that it's modeled after the original analog one. It just sounds wonderful.
Lovely delay.
Really lovely. And then a Fathom reverb from Walrus Audio, which we've been using on and off for a long time, which we love. So, and we know the sound of these pedals all very well. So we wanted to keep, some form of continuity and familiarity as we go through this.
And that's the idea of the Iridium, really, is that you stick it on the end of your pedal board exactly where you would stick an amp.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of your Deluxe Reverb, you have the Iridium, and then you plug that in direct either to a recording device, which we've done today, or front of house, or a full range flat response speaker cabinet, which we have done. We've got our Electro Voice 1500 watt PA speakers here, which are as good a full range flat response as anything else.
Right.
I mean, there are guitar specific ones, but once it's full range flat response, it's full range flat response.
Now, if we can just explain the stereo thing as well, because this is really interesting.
What happens is the way the IRs have been made,
Yes.
and the room ambience,
Yes.
has been made in stereo. So
Right.
it's 1 amp model,
Right.
but the IR is stereo.
Yes.
So as if it were mic'd in a room.
Right.
So we're going mono in, but you're getting stereo out left and right to these two speakers, and that's what will be recorded. So you're going to hear the full stereo experience
Right.
of Iridium. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit because we need to start hearing some sounds and stop talking. The other way you can use it, if you want, is you can put your time-based effects after Iridium. So in the way that you would put your drive sections into the front of an amp, and then you might use a loop for your delays and reverbs. Dan and I never do because of the amps we use. You could put your delays and reverbs after, but then that gives you a problem. Because then, at the moment, we're coming left and right out of Iridium. Whereas if we had our delay and reverb after Iridium, we'd have to come out of the delay and the reverb.
Unless you went wet dry.
Yeah. So there will be a couple of head scratchy moments.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's really surprised me in terms of connectivity is that you can't go send one out to your full range flat response and one to front of house.
Right. There's not a mono, two mono, dual mono thing.
Unless
okay.
I've read this manual for 2 hours, unless I've misunderstood it, you have to either go Iridium out to front of house and they send you a monitor feedback for your in-ear monitors or your full range flat response wedge, or you go into your full range flat response monitor and then you send that to front of house. We tested that this morning, going direct from Iridium and then or going through Iridium and into the recorder, and they sound different enough to be the same enough for the difference to be negligible.
Sure. Okay.
Negligible. So it doesn't make any difference as far as we can hear.
Well, let's have a quick listen then, and then we'll start to talk about applications and things, because this is where that's,
Yeah. Let's start. So we'll do a quick feature overview. The two switches there, as you can see, Daniel, 3 amplifiers on the left. Round is a 65 Deluxe Reverb Daniel Gagny. Deluxe Reverb without reverb sounds totally weird.
right.
So first of all, let's hear a bit of Fathom reverb on it. Just so what you're hearing there is the Deluxe Reverb model into the Deluxe Reverb cabinet IR.
Yes.
Strymon has gone to town on the modeling and the IRs. So the IRs are 500 millisecond, 24-bit 96K.
And that's big.
Yes,
in
because
IR world.
most IRs don't go to 500 milliseconds.
Right.
As I understand it. People who know about IRs will know about this. However, in addition to the IR, and for anyone who doesn't know, IR is an impulse response of a microphone on a speaker.
Very good.
Okay, so it's to mimic the sound of a speaker. Everything you've heard so far is direct. There's no microphones involved. It's just the Iridium straight into the recording device.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
So I turn the Fathom off. What, for me, the killer feature of Iridium so far, having watched the demos online, is this feature. So if you wouldn't mind playing, Daniel. So if you just compare the dry. So you've got, in addition to the speaker cabinet impulse response, you've also got a room reverb that's developed using Strymon's reverb algorithm.
Interesting.
And that's at 256 milliseconds on the same sample rate.
Really does sound like a room, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, in here it's odd because we're hearing it through PA speakers. I rather suspect on the recording, and we try not to reflect too much on that because we can't hear what's being recorded, and maybe we'll have a little listen before the end of the show. But from my experience of direct tones, you know, just direct tones, it's the addition of that room, however you do it, that starts to add a bit of realism.
Right.
Okay. We won't slavishly do every one, but here's the difference between the 3 cabs that they've got loaded in.
Okay. It's not unpleasant.
It sounds great.
It does. It does. So the weirdest thing for me, right, is that thing when it sounds like a recorded guitar.
That is exactly what I was about to say.
That's the weird thing.
It sounds like a recorded guitar.
Yeah. Like a good recorded guitar.
Yeah.
You know? And I guess the applications for that are massive. But what being in this room and being in this situation for so long and knowing how I want to hear like just like it sounds like the amp, not the recording process.
Yeah. But I think so we will reflect on this throughout the video. The point of digital modeling to me is not, I mean, even though they claim it, even though the manufacturers claim it, is not that you stick the thing next to the real thing and you genuinely can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Anyone who can't do that, I don't know, either isn't listening or they don't have the right amps or they're not playing loud enough. However, for me, what this does is the thing that a loud valve amp can't do. So number one, headphones.
Right.
Stick blooming headphones in that and just listen. That's going to be better than many other ways of doing that. Okay. And it's simple. So you don't need to go into a computer and out again. You can just plug your pedal board into that and plug your headphones into that. You don't need to do anything else.
I like that. I mean, that's strong.
Secondly, if you're in your kitchen at home or your sitting room or wherever else you are at home, you might have something like this. A Bluetooth speaker with an aux in.
Yeah.
Right? Now this is going to sound pretty weak compared to what we just heard. Let me just turn that other one off. Is it working?
It's working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at home with no volume, because we're used to being really loud in here, so it sounds weak and it sounds. But at home, sat in your office or your study or your sitting room or wherever it is you sit, for me, that is I'd much rather do that than take a big amp home, which I'm going. I mean, there's no dynamic.
No.
There's no playing dynamic. It sounds like you're playing a record.
Yeah.
Does it?
Absolutely. It has that feel of compression and but it's lovely.
It's gratifying, isn't it?
Yeah. So if I was to take a little 1 watt amplifier home, that thing is still loud.
Yeah.
That's for a situation where we can make no noise. You know what I mean? Like that, because that's super quiet.
Yeah.
But you could play super quiet and still sound okay.
I think for me, I prefer headphones in that environment because the minute I can hear the strings over the amp, then it doesn't really work.
Agreed. Agreed.
But headphones, stereo, that's going to sound completely killer.
The problem with me with the headphones is the cable, is the lead.
Right.
Because it just, no matter what you do with it, it always gets in the way.
Yeah.
And
you need to put it down your back.
Through the shirt. Through the trousers.
Just off the back.
Okay.
But then you step on it.
Yeah, that's the issue for me. Like with this, the headphone lid would have to come in underneath the neck.
Yeah.
And into this. But anyway.
You could also get some wireless headphones, I suppose.
But then, how are you connected to that?
Oh, really? Is there no Bluetooth in it or any other kind of digital connectivity?
I don't believe so.
That is slightly surprising. There's an old school mini USB on there for loading in your own IRs. And Strymon being such a technology company, no Bluetooth, I don't know, it feels kind of odd in this day and age.
Yeah. But
to counter that, maybe the kind of person that it is aimed at, doesn't want to do any Bluetooth and all that.
Sure.
I would literally never bother loading another IR in there. Incidentally, the IRs are done by people who are good at doing IRs.
Warhammer?
Ownhammer. Cab IR, Celestian, and Valhalla. Yeah.
Nice.
Apparently all good in the IR world, because one thing about impulse responses is whenever you hear a direct sound and it doesn't sound brilliant, a chorus of people joined together and sing in perfect harmony on the internet, you're using the wrong IRs.
Right.
So you can load in whatever IR you want if you don't like the selection that they've provided you with.
Sounds like the people who named those have been playing Dungeons and Dragons a lot.
I'm saying nothing. Let's have a listen to the other amps.
Yes. Okay.
If you wouldn't mind, I'll play a little bit humbucker to give you an idea. Other amps and cabs, basically. So if we have a listen to the AC30 Type 1 chime. Treble. I don't know whether my ears are.
This is so in the AC30 mode, the middle is the cut control in the AC30.
Yeah.
So you can hear it cut all the way off here.
Yeah. All the way up, by the way, on the gain control, up to about 2 o'clock is what you'd get out of a top boost AC30, and past that, they drop some low end off and kind of like hitting it with a treble booster.
Oh, okay,
apparently. Cool. Yeah. The first cab, by the way, is the 212 Alnico. The second cab is a 1x12 Alnico, and the third cab, weirdly, is a Messer half stack. With open, half closed 412.
Wow. Cool. The Mesa sounds great. Interesting choice.
Yeah, it's the best sounding of the three to my ears. Maybe just because there's loads of bass, but that has good feel, perfectly playable. I mean, if you told me we were playing through full range PA speakers,
yeah,
I'd have to think twice about that.
Yeah,
I felt like I was playing the guitar there,
right?
Not some other instrument that isn't the guitar, which is what I normally feel like when it goes through full range flat response.
Sure.
Let's have a listen to the Marshall then. The
Punch.
Yeah, so this would be a 100-watt Plexi. I want to get the Strat and have a quick listen to this in a sec as well.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, not bad. Give us the maximum gain. Yeah, the pedals react very, very, very differently, don't they? So no doubt about that. I was messing around there. I changed. There's a few secondary functions that if you press and hold the on button, some LEDs will flash and you can change a number of things, one of which is the room size. I changed it to a small room.
Okay.
Okay.
You play... yeah, I want to hear this. I want to hear it with the fuzz.
Okay, so first of all, the 3 cabs were in the top position, a 412 with greenbacks. Second cab on the Marshall model is a 212 vintage 30. And then the last one is a full stack 8x12.
Oh, cool.
Alnico, actually, with the old silver bullets or whatever they were called.
Wow.
By the looks of things, T652, whatever the T652s were. Alnico, not ceramic anymore.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Strat them.
Yep.
You all right?
No.
What's the matter?
No.
That guitar has completely skewed any opinion from this point onwards in this show.
Forevermore. Forevermore.
Okay, this is a 1961 Fender Strat that's on loan to me by a very nice guy called Simon Green, and Simon is lending me this guitar. Dan and I don't want to believe the hubris about old shit, even though we do believe it because we spent enough time around it to know how flipping good it sounds. This guitar, I've resisted this. I think this is the best electric guitar I've ever heard in my life.
I agree.
And we've done 4 shows with it now, and I'm like, not saying anything, because especially in this video, of all videos. Anyway, this guitar does sound pretty special, and one of the reasons we wanted to use it there was because it does have a particularly sensitive volume norm, and even with the Fuzz Factory, which isn't really a traditional type fuzz, it still managed to help the Fuzz Factory clean up quite nice, which is really good because I'm not necessarily expecting that. What's missing is, and I don't know whether it's the nature of the full range flat response, I suspect when we hear that back, it's going to sound pretty good.
Okay.
Because to me, all the EQ characteristics of a huge 412 were starting to happen, you know, loads of bass, etc. And it is very weird to hear it at, I'm guessing we were about 90, 92 from memory. Didn't feel loud in here like it normally does. And the transients completely were not there.
Yeah.
If that was a 100-watt Plexi, every one of those would have poked your eyes out, even with fuzz on, and just the kind of up and down nature of the intensity of playing would have had just a far wider dynamic range, I think. Whereas that it flattened it off considerably, but the tone, yeah,
It sounded great. I mean, that
pretty feeling it.
it was. The thing is, we've heard that guitar enough now to know that the special characteristics it has, and it was all there. You know, you could hear that the frequency of that guitar through that, and that was impressive.
The Variax HD model of it is quite good as well.
It's a very special guitar.
The only sweet,
It's all right. It's still lovely.
the only sweet end to this is it's gonna have to go back one day,
No, it's not.
and then I think I'll just have to take up knitting or something. Just knit jumpers with Strats on for the rest of the time. Send them to people. Are we done with part one, Dan?
I think so. That's how it sounds. That's how it sounds. We've been through everything.
Yeah, we've gone through the 3 amp models. We've gone through some cabs. Just let's mention some stuff. So it has a JFET analog front end. So the front end of it and where the drive is created pre the amp bit is JFET analog, which is perhaps one of the reasons why it's reacting nicely off the volume control.
Yes.
I do know like digital front ends that really don't do that. So perhaps
On normal guitars.
so perhaps that's one thing. It can work at instrument or line level on the input.
Okay. That's good.
We talked about the headphones. We talked about it's got some expression pedal stuff.
Right.
So you can attach an expression pedal to work as a volume pot, either pre or post. So you can either affect the drive into it or the
that's cool.
master volume, which is quite good. And you can also assign different functions, should you want to an expression pedal. Straight off the top there, you can put in one favorite,
Yes.
as is the case with all Strymon pedals like this. So you can save one favorite. You could also attach the Strymon multi-switch, I think it's called,
Right. Yep.
to get 4
Yep.
presets. Or if you want to do M1D1, 300 presets
Yes.
available from M1D1. So that's MIDI.
That's cool.
MIDI. You can add your own IRs. We said that. You can also turn either the amp or the cab off if you wanted. Because one of the questions might be, can I plug it into my Hot Rod Deluxe? You can, but you're still going to have either amp or cab modelling, or both. So Strymon says don't use it into the front of a regular guitar amp. It's not really for that.
No.
Buffered bypass.
Okay.
So if you do run anything after it's got a buffer. It requires 500 milliamps at 9 volts, which is quite an ask from a regular power supply. Blah 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 blah. And just one last explanation of the inputs and outputs. If we didn't explain this already, there are 3 modes, right? So you can either go mono in guitar, and it's always stereo out. And if you use the left jack, you get a mono. You can go stereo in. So let's say you want to put it after a stereo delay and get the stereo left-right of your delay through the stereo outputs via TRS and have stereo out. Or you can go stereo in via TRS and have that sum to mono on the out. So those are the 3. What you can't have, as far as I'm aware, is like
Mono in, dual mono out.
Yeah, like a Deluxe Reverb on left and a Plexi on right. I don't think you can do that. And apologies if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can. Otherwise, they would have written it really large in the manual. Okay, so what everyone really wants to know then is what does it sound like compared to the real thing?
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
And we're back.
And we're back.
You'll notice the reassuring background hum of old amps, well, one old amp, and the cooling fans in the PA speakers. Right, so 1961 Vox AC30.
Same year as that guitar.
Same year as your junior.
Yes!
61 seems to be the thing.
It does seem to be the thing. What Teles were made in 61?
Really nice ones.
Brilliant. Thanks for that.
Yeah, rosewood boards. I mean, yeah.
The one that we played at ATB that day, was that a 61? Because that was stunning.
You played a 58.
Yeah.
All right, I'll stop now.
Like, custom.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we can just explain the signal routing for the lovely people at home.
Okay, well, I've got the we have the pedals, and then we have the choice of the 3 amplifiers, either the Iridium, the AC30, or the Super.
What you're going to be hearing is the same pedals into the Iridium recorded direct. Okay, no microphones.
Mm-hmm.
What you'll then be hearing is the same pedals into either of these amplifiers recorded with microphones and room microphones. So it's fair. So this has room simulation on it,
Yes.
digital.
Yep.
We have real room mics in the room. So it's a fair fight. They're not the same mics, they're not the same speakers, they're not even the same amps, but they're close enough.
Sure.
Okay, let's hear the Iridium then. Okay, two interesting things for me. I did turn the PA speakers up a little bit because the AC30 was peaking louder.
Okay.
The bottom end reinforcement from the PA speakers is significant.
Yes.
And it gives you this nice feeling of bigness, whereas the AC30, all the bottom end just drops away,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts to feel weaker. But I think that the trade-off is a brittleness in the full range flat response and a lack of dynamic, which I'm hearing. What do you think?
Well, play it. Because it's really interesting. Play it, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay, can
All
I
right.
have some delay, please?
Yes.
So infinitely prefer the warmth and the response of the mids, and the chewiness of the overdrive is much nicer in the Vox. The bottom end in the PA cabs is really lovely,
Yes.
especially for clean sounds.
Yeah.
Really, really lovely. But it is brittle. There's a brittleness to it that sort of is harmonically richer in the Vox. But I wouldn't, can't wait to hear the audio.
Yeah.
The Vox is definitely more fun to play.
Sure.
And that could well be down to 30 years of playing loud valve amps
Yeah.
and being completely used to that feel and response.
Sure.
But I have to say that the feel and response through the full range is way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think a lot of it's down to that room.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it?
The extra bit of room. Should we have a listen to the Super?
Yep. Okay.
Sounds a little bit dark. So this is kind of 2.5. It's not really loud for a Super. Maybe we could go a little bit more.
Yeah.
Could I just try something a bit cleaner a sec on, like, go to one of the mid positions. I'm even starting to annoy myself with that. Yeah, okay, so it's not the same amp. Deluxe Reverb, 1x12, Super Reverb, 4x10, different output tubes, but so similar.
Yeah.
So similar in other ways. I don't know, I mean, I was pretty happy playing both. I think once you kicked on the drive, the Super does that thing,
Yeah.
and it gets that kind of slight more aggression to it, and it starts rasping, which is a Deluxe Reverb does as well, but not to the same extent. I don't know, I mean,
an interesting thing for me. So normally one of the caveats is, well, obviously the guitar isn't in the room with a loud amplifier while you're playing this, but we have the PA matched in a volume level.
Yeah.
So any interaction that we're getting with the amplifiers theoretically, excuse me, should be happening with the PA stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, have a go with the Super. See what you think. So we went to both amps at the end, obviously. You were hearing one amp compared in mono to 2 speakers in stereo, so the amp on its own always sounded a bit smaller, so we thought we'd do both amps. You know what? It got crazy loud there at the end, so I turned the Vox and the Fender down. Sonically, I thought the flat response was fine. I thought it wasn't as chalk and cheese as I thought it would be.
It's for me what was it was the something in the top end. There was a brittleness to the top end, and where you don't get things like the speakers in that AC30 are done. Right. So when we had them on at the end with the Fender, and there's a bit of gain going, and you had a bit of that cone cry and that sort of stuff, you don't get that from IRs. Right.
You do if they IR'd it.
You don't in IRs. It's the one thing that the Ox does do. Okay. But IRs don't do cone cry.
Okay.
And there was a little bit of that going on at the end. I was really feeling it's like, you know. So, but I am genuinely impressed with it.
Yeah, me too.
It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, and I think, I thought the one thing that digital modelling never has over a decent valve amp is at volume, that interaction and that response, especially if you've been playing valve amps for a long time.
Yeah.
Which is something that, a lot of people have never had the luxury of doing, so trying to explain it is difficult until you've had the luxury of doing it. It's very rare to get that kind of chewiness and everything just responding in the way that you've come to expect, which is not to say that it's worse, it's to say that it is very different. I thought that when we were pushing 104, 105 dB, no one gets to play that loud anymore, and the dB meter is behind the speakers, remember, so it's loud, it's really crazy loud. I thought they would fall to pieces. Yeah. But you've got 3,000 watts there. Yeah, right. Pretty much. I think they're 1,500 watts a piece, those things.
I guess that's the thing in that world, because you need all of that headroom to reproduce what's going on there.
Yep. So, some 150 watt thing, I probably wouldn't be catching up in the same way.
Sure.
But
interesting.
I mean, colour me impressed.
Yeah, amazing.
Significantly impressed. I'm looking forward to hearing the audio back and also hearing it through headphones.
So I want to speak briefly.
Let's turn the
amp off for now.
Noisy national valve.
Just briefly, I want to have a quick chat about application.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, amp in a box, but it's not an amp. It's a box. You know what I mean? So you have to plug this into something to get sound.
Yeah, for me, that's the biggest issue is you've got to plug it into either a PA speaker or you've got to send it off to a desk and rely on a monitor feedback.
Yes.
So your experience of it is either going to be through IEMs, which is what a lot of people are using. I would imagine it'd be very popular in the church market because that's as I come to understand it, that's a no amp environment.
Like silent stage
pretty much these days, and everything comes back through IEMs. So that's an application. I think anyone playing at home wanting to record simply and directly.
And I'm going to use this. I'm doing a vlog at the moment with recording some tunes. Yeah. So I am going to have a play with it in that environment, and just to see how it, like for example, in Logic and GarageBand, you have all these amplifiers and that, and
why not just use one of those?
Yeah, exactly. Because there are advantages with those. Like once you've recorded a track, you can go back and remanipulate all the. If you want more bass on the guitar, you go to the amplifier and turn it up in that situation. So, I'm going to put that in there and just see.
For me, it's the simplicity because I get quickly... I mean, don't get me wrong. I use complex software in my job all day, every day. I'm not averse to using software and complex stuff and workflow and all of that. I know how the recording machine works. I can use UAD plugins. We use them extensively. I'm not... I often get accused of being a Luddite. I promise you I'm not when it comes to that kind of stuff.
The only person accused you of being a Luddite to you.
No. It's in the comments.
Okay.
I will just say that the Luddites weren't afraid of technology. They were afraid of starvation. And there is a palpable difference between the two.
Very good. Very good.
So yeah, but nevertheless, even though I'm very happy with software and plugins and all of that, the simplicity of that appeals greatly. Just to be able to stick it on the indie pedal board and then plug it into whatever you want, or headphones. So I think there's a huge market potentially there for that. The next question is why don't you just get a Helix or a Kemper? That's 400 quid, which we've both said feels maybe a bit pricey. I don't know. I mean, the cost of digital modeling and all of that is presumably very high. But then there comes a marginal cost of, once that thing is recouped. And I think that the issue that digital technology faces is if that's doing most of what your Kemper does, or your Helix, all right, you haven't got loads of effects in there. It's just the amp section for a third of the price. What's next?
Yeah, right.
The next thing is that technology gets shrunk down even further to the point where it's an app on your phone at some point. So in 5 years' time, they can't even charge 500 quid for it. It's the price of an app.
Right.
Because in the digital world, the retail price ends up being the marginal cost of manufacture.
Right.
Which is why nobody wants to pay for downloads. So I think it's interesting. Yes, there's money in the case, there's money in the pots, there's money in it, the same as any pedal. There's money in the components. But actually the really clever thing is the technology. That's digital and can be delivered via software only, presumably at some point.
Yeah. Obviously, the massive cost of developing that technology.
Of course.
Yeah.
And
I think they've done a sterling job. But I love the interface. I love the simplicity of it, as you said. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the audio back.
Yeah, because you were less enthusiastic than me when we started this video, weren't you?
Because what I'd heard so far online hadn't really...
Yeah.
Look, we are spoiled. I have no... I understand that.
The harder you work down, the more you can spoil yourself.
Yes, this is true.
Is all I'm going to say about that.
But,
which isn't a financial thing. It's just a dedication to something over many, many, many years. If you're an idiot enough to follow it in the way that we have.
Initially when I first heard it, I was going, I'm not sure. But, hearing it here today, yep, it's great.
Yeah. Would you use it over your valve amps?
No.
No, nor me. That's the kind of interesting thing, isn't it? Why not?
Well, because I don't need to. That's the like for me, this is convenience. If I go to a gig now, I can turn up with my own matchless, no problem. But if I was doing a gig where it's like, well, your mattress is going to be in the room next door, and I'm going to mark it up and send it back through your in ears, and you're only going to get a sniff-tenth of it. It's like, well,
just use that.
Why would you bother?
Yeah.
That when that's a perfectly good compromise.
Okay, I think we could talk about this all week.
Fascinating though.
And
fascinating to see what's going.
And the comments are going to be fascinating because I think there's a lot of people with a vested interest in seeing valve amps die. I hear that
really
in comments. I'm like, there's like vitriolic. Yeah, now your valve amps are dead. You valve amp weirdos. Just give it up and move on. There's that kind of vitriol, and I think we've all just got to get out of that way of thinking and go, just use what you want to use, man.
Yeah.
Don't sweat about what other people are using. Just use what you want to use. Be inspired. Play the guitar, and if this delivers that for you, brilliant.
Here. Well said,
Thanks,
sir. Well said.
Thanks.
Very good.
I'm going to run for president after Kanye.
There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm thoroughly enjoying you and that guitar, I must say. Again, if you do feel so inspired, please check out thatpedalshowstore.com. It funds everything we do. So we've got T-shirts and mugs and journals and...
Not an exact copy of my insides, unfortunately.
No.
But other than that...
Yes, so we don't take any money from manufacturers to feature this stuff. So that's how we fund the show. Also, our patrons on Patreon, guys, thank you so much. Couldn't do it without you. Our preferred retailers in the UK and Europe is...
Anderson's Music of Guildford in Surrey.
And our dear friends in Australia.
would be Pedal Empire of Brisbane in Queensland.
Yes. Cheers, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great week. We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Bye.